Hey everyone, this is Rochelle Legrand, your Miss Atlantic Shores 2020. I'd like to welcome you to my new YouTube series where I'll be promoting my social impact initiative of Start the Conversation. Today, I'll be interviewing Miss South Shore 2020, also the founder of Fearless Movement, Ashley Kulikowski. Ashley will be telling us about her battle with epilepsy, so stay tuned. All right. Well, first, welcome. Thank you so much. This is the first time I'm ever doing something like this. Yeah. So again, I don't know if you know, but my platform is called Start the Conversation. It's my initiative to, talk about diversity and microaggressions so we can eliminate that in our society. And, I don't want to just always cover the basics, black and white and male and female, but there's people with disabilities as well. To know what it's like walking in their shoes every day. And that's really the goal and the mission that I'm trying to get across here is to figure out what it's like a day in the life of Ashley and walking through your shoes. And with that, that makes me and whatever viewers, whoever we get to reach, it makes them more culturally sensitive. And we just learn to interact with one another more respectfully in our society.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, thank you for doing this. It creates more empathy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the goal, and I always say it's not to say, don't say this because it's going to offend this person. Don't say that because it's going to offend this group of people. It's when you let those thoughts and those words manifest into actions. That's when we have those, violent events that we have across the country.
Yeah.
So first tell me, what is epilepsy?
So epilepsy is a neurological disorder in the brain that causes abnormal electrical activity going on that then triggers a seizure. So an easier way to explain that is what I share with students and anyone really who asks. Think of a storm going on inside of your brain and you have no control over stopping it. And now it affects your body. So that's really what happens to me. It causes seizures, epilepsy. That abnormal electrical activity causes seizures from different triggers. So those triggers could be sleep deprivation, dehydration, exhaustion, your menstrual cycle, so many other things as well. But that's just to name a few.
Oh, wow. I never knew like your menstrual cycle could actually be a trigger for that.
Oh yeah, anything involving hormones, especially like around when a woman is pregnant, to definitely be on more so aware of how you're feeling, what's going on, and make sure that you speak up about it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
something I know I didn't include this in the questions that I had sent to you originally, but now I want to know more. Is that something you were born with? Is that something that can go away over time, or is that?
So now some people can be born with epilepsy, but really you develop epilepsy throughout your lifespan. Like for instance, I wasn't born with it as an infant. I developed epilepsy when I was 13 years old. I had a seizure. I came home from school and I had a seizure, and we had no clue why. Like this never happened to me before. My sister found me, and they rushed me to the hospital, and they shared that 1 in 10 people will have a seizure in their lifespan, epilepsy related or not. So that didn't mean that I had epilepsy. So 3 months later, when we finally received a neurologist appointment, I had 3 more seizures. They did an EEG test along with an EKG and also more scans of my brain and what's going on in my body. And that's when they determined that I do have epilepsy. I was diagnosed with it.
Okay. And you
And
said 1 in 10 people will be diagnosed with a seizure at some point in their lifetime.
well, yes, 1 in 10 people will have a seizure in their lifespan. So whether that's epilepsy related or related to something else, I know someone actually recently who just had a seizure due to the past surgery that they got.
Wow.
Recovering from that surgery, they had a seizure, and they don't have epilepsy, but it can happen to anyone at any point in time.
Wow. And thank you for mentioning that because then that also just lets people know that this can happen to anyone. This is not just a certain group
Yeah.
of people, but I had no idea about that actually. Um, so that was when you told me you first found out you had it when you were 13 years old. Now, have you ever been made fun of or you were called a derogatory name or a microaggression or something of that nature?
Yes, I was bullied growing up before I had epilepsy, for my weight. I was overweight at the time, so many students like would bully me then. Once I stopped being bullied from my peers, that's when I was diagnosed with epilepsy. So I was terrified that that would happen again. And it wasn't as severe as it was prior, but my friends, actually, at the time, I call them my friends, I came home. I went to my friend's house after school, and they had everyone over, and it was the first time I went out in public after my first seizure, and all of them had a strobe light app on their phone, so that when I came in, they did that to make fun of me about what happened. And I think that sometimes people make fun of things because they don't feel comfortable with what happened. So they try to make light of it. But really, that bothered me so much. And I had to act at that moment. I thought I had to act like it didn't bother me. But I went home that day feeling like, wow, my peers don't see me as equal to them. They see me differently now. Now they think it's a joke. And really, it's affecting me so much more than they can actually see. So that happened. And then with now, like, my later years within my career, I had two different places of employment that I worked at, and both places of employment would not promote me to higher positions that I showed and worked extremely hard to show that I had those qualifications, because they were nervous that it would affect my health. Those were their words. And that was said multiple times, reoccurring. So definitely bullied and also judged due to a circumstance, an illness, a disorder that I didn't choose.
Wow. Did you ever confront your friends about that when that happened? I totally get what you're saying. I remember so many times myself growing up. I was one of the few Black kids in my school, and people would make little comments and say things here and there. And one, I didn't want to sit here and have to confront it every single time because it happened so frequently.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it wasn't like I had any allies or anyone here that could stand up for me. So did you ever say anything to them about it, or did you just kind of let it go, and then one day you realize, hey, these aren't my type of people?
I never said anything to anyone. I wish I did, looking back,
Mhm.
because I felt like it wasn't worth it. I felt like what I was going to say wasn't going to even do anything with the situation I was in. It wasn't going to help. And that was a lie, because if I did speak up and share how do believe those friends, some of them at least, would have stopped. But it continued. And that's when I realized, so later on in high school, like my senior year, who so that was in 8th grade when that started. So it took me about 4 years to realize, okay, I deserve better. I deserve more. But if only I would have spoke up earlier,
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Sometimes I look back in high school and I think, like, what, maybe I would have been better off not having friends rather than feeling like having I said these are my only options. These are the only people I've got. Either
Yeah,
that or I talk to
seriously.
nobody all day. Yeah.
Now I talk to like 3 people from high school.
Yeah. Oh, that's more than me. So going back to what you said when that happened at your workplace, where they told you we can't promote you because of your condition. And excuse my ignorance, this is something that I should know, but isn't that something that's illegal? Isn't, because that's kind of discriminating you against because of your disability?
Yeah, they were discriminating me due to my health condition, and it is illegal. Yet again, unfortunately, which I still stand by this, I didn't want to fight it, because as soon as I felt that, I was like, you know what, this isn't a place that I want to take up space in. And that's when I realized, okay, like, I need to move on. And I did. Shortly after that, I left and got a new job. So, and I actually left and received a job at the Epilepsy Foundation. And that was actually people that understood the battle that I had. And I received a job as a 21-year-old without a bachelor's degree at an entry-level position that you had to have a bachelor's degree. So it just showed me that no matter what, you know your worth, and that's what's important. And if other people don't know your worth, let them know what you're worth. So me leaving allowed them to see, okay, she's worth more than this.
It was their loss, not yours.
Yeah. Seriously.
Beautiful. Oh my God. I'm glad, well, there's a silver lining to that, because that's awful. It's one thing to not have friends, and when you're in high school, that is like the most important thing to you. But
Oh, yeah.
see that, how that still affects you even after that. I can imagine like how painful it is having to leave one job because of that and working so hard to get somewhere and knowing, hey, this is as far as you're going to ever get again.
Yeah. And I'm happy I was able to see it early on, I didn't last too long there.
Yeah, that's worse. If you were to work there for 5-6 years and realize this was holding you back, it's good that you were able to figure that out. You learned earlier on.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me happy. Because I'm dying over here like, first the friends, now it's work.
Yeah, you just don't think about it, but what you're doing is great because it's creating empathy. It's literally starting the conversation, and these are conversations that we have to start. Yeah. And not many people want to because they don't feel comfortable, but it's outside of our comfort zone is where growth happens, where community happens, all of that. So what you're doing is great.
How can we be more of allies to people who have epilepsy? What's something that we can do moving forward, or that you wish to see other people take the initiative on doing?
Yeah, something to know is that it's not something to be afraid of. You can't catch epilepsy. It's not contagious. And so many people will definitely look at you differently because they treat it as it's a contagious illness or it's something contagious that they can catch. But most importantly, something that's a huge misconception, what I just said. But what I think is the most important thing is to ask, how can I help if you were to have a seizure? What are the steps?
Yeah.
Because as soon as you ask someone that, they will share with you the first thing to do is to not freak out, to stay calm at all times, and just place the person on their side, make sure their head's protected, call 911 if it goes over 3 minutes. That's all. So it's not as hard as people make it out to be.
Can you say that again? Because my computer came in and out. I lost you after you said stay calm, and then what? You said something about your thumb.
Oh, no, I didn't.
It sounded like you said your thumb. Your thumb went like this, so I said, I should know this.
No. So, okay. The first thing is to stay calm. If someone were to have a seizure, stay calm and make sure that if they are to fall, there are many different seizures. Some people collapse. I have collapsed. Some people just stay on the space. But if they were to collapse, make sure you are protecting their head with a pillow or a sweatshirt, something comfy under their head so they don't hurt their head. And along with that, time the seizure. If it goes over 3 minutes, call 911. And if you don't feel comfortable with any of that, call 911 right away and just protect the person.
Got it. Okay, so stay calm, protect their head, and
yes.
Over 3 minutes, call 911.
Yes. And if you don't feel comfortable, call 911 and protect.
Number one is to call 911, then stay calm, then protect their head. Or maybe do all three at the same time. I'm a multitasker, so I would probably do all three.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's not it looks scary. Like, for instance, I never saw someone have a seizure. And for instance, I never saw myself have a seizure. So in order to understand what my family felt, what my friends have felt when this happened in front of them, I had to watch someone having a seizure. And that helped me understand their fear and how to treat that fear, how to help them with that emotion and showing them, you know what, okay, this is how we can make it less fearful by knowledge, having education. Knowledge is power.
Thank you so much, Ashley, and thank you for just being so brave and telling me more about this. And like I said, this is going to reach a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, and I'm sure there's somebody in the same position that I'm in that may have heard one or two things about epilepsy, but really don't know a full story about it. I know I said we were going to wrap up, but before we go, can you tell me just a little bit more about Fearless Movement and where people want to get involved after seeing this? Is there anything that they can do?
Yes, so definitely follow Fearless Movement on all of our social media channels, Instagrams at Fearless Movement, Facebooks at Fearless Movement FM, and then our website, www.fearlessmovement.org. You can find all of our resources for those battling epilepsy and also everyone battling fear. I founded Fearless Movement when I was 17, actually. That was when I chose to define who I am instead of allow epilepsy to define me. And now it's a 501c3 nonprofit mental health and epilepsy organization.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate this. And we'll stay tuned. So everyone, make sure you follow Fearless Movement on all your social networks. And we'll be back next time with another episode.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. I'll see you soon. Okay. Stay safe.
Yes. Can't wait. to see how it all comes out.
Mwah. Bye.
Bye.